The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a bucket full of chicken necks. This show will air on Wednesday, October 21st, but I'm going to be honest with you. Today is Tuesday, October 20th. I'm doing this show a day early because I'm trying to work out to get my last tattoo. I told you last week I got a spot left right here on my arm. If you can see it, I want to get my Ralph crammed in. You know, I'm still juggling a car with myself and the diva, needs to get back and forth to college. So I'm trying to book my tattoo for late tomorrow afternoon. I haven't been able to book it yet. But if I do, I want to do chicken necks today, so I won't have it on my plate for tomorrow. But with that being said, before we get into the show, I got to take care of business as usual and Kayfabe commentaries. They have a new DVD out that I'm really, really excited about. It's Breaking Kayfabe with Kevin Nash. They gave me some copy I want to read to you, but then I want to tell you a little bit more about the DVD. Kayfabe Commentaries once again retreats into the personal lives of pro wrestling stars and uncover what lies hidden beneath the facade they've created with their in-ring characters. This time, Breaking Kayfabe takes a personal journey into Kevin Nash's past and present away from the ring. This is an extremely intimate journey as Kevin allows Sean into the headline-making arrest and the struggles at home, as well as the realities of a life in the ring and on the road. Explore this complex man and enjoy the journey as Sean takes Kevin all over the map, and watch the rare rapport they share as they cover almost everything and anything. Part therapy, part interview, all shoot. It's the series that reminds us they're people. Get your copy at kayfabecommentaries.com, where our shoots are not shareholder approved, which is very, very, very important. First of all, let me tell you a couple of things. I'm looking forward to seeing this DVD with Kevin Nash. And from what I understand, one is in the mail. They told me they sent it to me. So when it comes, I will take a look at it, and then I will review the DVD. But I'm interested in looking at it, and I'll tell you why. Kevin Nash, I've known for a very, very long time. As a matter of fact, you can go all the way back to my very first show, Vicious Vincent's World of Wrestling on WGBB Radio on Long Island, 1991. And Vinny Vegas, Kevin Nash, was my very first guest. I went on to work with Kevin at WWE, WCW, TNA. We made all the same stops. I was around him a lot. I got to be honest, I don't know if I've ever met anybody in the business more truthful than Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash speaks his mind, whether it's politically correct or it isn't. When Kevin has something to say, Kevin says it. And I got to tell you, in a world where there are a lot of talents out there that are, Hall of Famers, under Legends contracts, maybe waiting for their phones to ring one last time, Kevin Nash is not one of those guys. I was watching an interview with Kevin and Scott Hall that was shot just about a month ago, where Kevin was talking about, Vince McMahon, basically burying every WCW talent that came from WCW to WWE. And like I said, here's Kevin Nash, WWE Hall of Famer, Legends contract, and he's still calling it like he sees it. And I respect that more than anything in the world. That's why this is going to be an unbelievable DVD with Kayfabe commentaries, especially Kevin's going to talk a little bit about his arrest of not too long ago. There was some domestic issues with his son, and Sean's going to ask him about that. And Sean Oliver doesn't duck any questions. So it should be really interesting. And when Sean says not shareholder approved, because I got to tell you something, if you watch interviews on the WWE, network, if you don't understand how slanted they are and how one way they are in order for the WWE to tell their story, then like, honestly, I got to tell you, you may be a little clueless, because that's what they do. Every story is slanted to get the WWE story out. With KayfabeCommentaries.com, they don't have a side. There's no side for them to pick. They have the interviews, they ask the tough questions, and they get the tough answers. So Breaking Kayfabe with Kevin Nash, that is out now at KayfabeCommentaries.com. I recommend that you check this DVD out. It's going to be good, and it's going to be very, very interesting. There's a couple things I want to talk about. I got a list of things, like a potpourri of things, if you will, that are on my mind and that I want to go through. First of all, let me say, since we've last been together here, last Friday, I went to the radio station in Fort Collins, Colorado. I went to a 107.9 The Bear, and I did an overnight, DJing show. The show aired 12 o'clock this past Saturday night. I think it was over at 5 in the morning. I'm not exactly sure. But, I got my first show under my belt. And, I got to be honest with you, it reminded me very much of when I started at the WWF at the time, and I never really told anybody this story. But when I started at the WWF, I was living in Long Island. And when I took the job as the editor of the WWF magazine, I had to drive to Connecticut every day before my family moved there. And the drive to Connecticut was a good 2 hours there and a good 3 hours back in traffic. So I was traveling 5 hours a day to get to Stamford, Connecticut. And I got to tell you, there was a couple of weeks there where I thought I made the wrong choice. And I was like, what the hell did you do, Vince? 5 hours in a car every day, this is brutal. And like the first couple of weeks, I was really questioning whether or not I wanted this job. And I never really told that story before. But then when I finally got my family to Connecticut and the travel was eliminated, obviously it was a lot easier for me. The situation was similar at 107.9. They put me in this studio and literally, I've got two monitors in front of me and everything is computerized these days. And, the commercials are on the computer, the tracks are on the computer. And, my in and outs are in the computer when I have to go to commercial break, when I'm coming out of break, the whole 9 yards. And they basically put me in there and literally take about 10 minutes to show me what to do. Yeah, Vince, you just do this, that, blah, 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 blah. Like I've been a DJ for the last 20 years. Now, I got to be careful because I know I'm being tested. How quickly can he pick this up? How quickly can he learn this? So, I don't want to ask too many questions. I'm trying to listen, but there's a lot of things to remember. So they give me about 10 minutes worth of instructions. Then they leave. Then I'm literally playing with the first track for a long time, probably an hour. And I have 10 tracks to record. So I'm on the first one for an hour, really trying to get it down and understand it and learn the software. That was the most difficult part for me. And I went through that period like I went through in the WWE, like, Vince, is this for you? Can you do this? You really don't understand the technology and this kind of software. Can you do this? Well, I got to tell you, after, playing with that first track for about an hour, I got in a groove then. And then I was able to do track after track after track after track. And I got all 10 of them done in around the same time it took me to do the first one. And I have to be honest with you, I felt so comfortable. It came so easy for me, segueing from one song to another song with a little story, that made sense. And I got to tell you, my first time in there, I was very happy with myself. I think I hit it out of the park for my first time, to be honest with you. And again, here's the deal. I just want an opportunity here. These guys have given me an opportunity. They've seen what I could do thus far. Here's the important thing. All the advice they've given me, I'm listening. I'm sitting at the edge of my seat, and I'm trying to take all their years of knowledge and experience, and I'm trying to give them exactly what they want. They've been in the radio business. Vince Russo hasn't. That's what makes me laugh about wrestling. I've got over 20 years experience in the wrestling business with 3 different companies. When I try to tell people what they need to do, they look at me like I have 6 heads. Meanwhile, the ratings continue to go in the toilet. Less and less people watch every week. Hey, if I was giving them the advice and the business was going the other way, then no question about it. Wrestling's passed Vince Russo by. But the fact that I'm giving you advice and you're not taking it and you keep losing viewers week after week after week blows my mind. So that's why I can't believe that's how the real world works. So, I've learned so many lessons in wrestling. And, like I said, here's a perfect example. They're the experts. They tell me what I need to do. They tell me about the audience, and they tell me how we're going to do this. And I say, okay, no problem. I'm all in. No questions. Let's go. So I got my first show under the belt. Now I'm kind of waiting to hear from them. I'm kind of waiting to see what they thought of it. What's the next step? Where do we go from here? So that's where I sit with that. But, again, I got to tell you, I was very excited about it. It was very, very natural to me. There's a lot of stuff. I'm going to be all over the place today. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. First thing I want to talk about, last night during the football game was the new trailer for Star Wars. The movie's coming out in December. They're already selling tickets 2 months in advance. I don't know if this has been done with any major motion picture before. I mean, maybe a week before. This is 2 months. Well, I got to tell you, the trailer looks unbelievable. There's a lot of teases in the trailer. And, I thought about this. The pressure on the people making this movie, is just unbelievable. Let's face it. The first 3 were great. The second 3, not so much, unless you're one of these, out of your mind Star Wars marks, and everything they do is phenomenal. The fact of the matter is that the second 3 didn't touch the first 3. So now, they're adding the next 3, and there's a lot on the line. I mean, this Star Wars has to be like the most successful franchise probably in the history of the world. When you can still walk into any toy store and see Star Wars action figures on the shelf, and they still sell, and they've been selling action figures since 1977. Can you imagine as a whole what this franchise has grossed, through licenses and like I said, toys, lunchboxes, Halloween costumes, stationery, underwear, clothing, whatever you can imagine. Can you imagine what this franchise has made? So now, a lot of pressure. J.J. Abrams, directing this film. And I got to tell you, from the trailer, it looked great. There was even a tease that Luke Skywalker may be the new Darth Vader, but it was probably a swerve. But nonetheless, I'm excited to see this movie. There's no way this movie is not going to break box office records. I mean, there's just no way. This is the kind of film everybody's going to see, especially coming out around the holidays. And if it gets good press, everybody's going to see it. I'm really looking forward to this. I got another little note here. I want to bring this up. Listen, all these commercials about erectile dysfunction. I think that's what they call it. Erectile dysfunction. Like, the guy can't keep his dingling, up long enough. He needs assistance, whatever the case may be. Here's the deal with these things. There are so many on right now, erectile dysfunction. But if you notice, they have a woman doing the commercial, and a woman is supposed to be, middle-aged, the same age as the guy who's having the erectile dysfunction. So listen, I'm probably a good candidate. So listen, I'm 54 years old. Listen, not that I have erectile dysfunction, because I don't. I've never used anything like this in my life. Yeah, hey, Does the soldier stand at attention like he used to? Absolutely not. I'm 54 years old, but, the soldier can still salute when he has to. Let me put it that way. But here's the thing. The commercials are around the middle-aged women, like the wives of the people like me. And these freaking women are smoking freaking hot. And I got to tell you, listen, I go to Target. I go to the grocery store. I go out in public. I don't see women my age looking like this. I don't see 50-year-old women smoking hot that, I'm running to the drugstore to get Viagra to take care of my soldier not standing at attention. These women are smoking hot, and they're supposed to be, 50-year-old women, maybe late 40s. Give them the benefit of the doubt. But I don't know where these women are. Somebody has to show me where these women are, because they're certainly not out in public. They're certainly not at the grocery store. I mean, I can tell you that. They're not at 7-Eleven. They're not at the places I go to. But watch these freaking commercials, because 50-year-old women hot like this, I want to know where these women are. If anybody knows, please write into officialvincerusso@gmail.com and let me know. All right, a couple other things I want to talk about. I got a bunch of stuff here. Oh, boy. I'm walking around like lately, and I'm starting to feel very depressed, and I'll tell you why, okay? My pal... my favorite son, the one that I do everything with, okay, he's getting old, and I can start to tell he's getting old. And yes, I'm talking about Yogi. Let's face it, he's the child I love the most. He's the child that doesn't talk back. He's the child that doesn't take my car. He's the child that I don't have to give money to. He's the child that I don't have to sell Led Zeppelin Coda to for 54 cents. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. But Yogi's always there. Yogi's my companion. But Yogi's like hitting the 10-year mark. And I could tell he's losing a step. And he's slower, and he's sleeping more, and he's getting grayer. And I'm really, really starting to get depressed because, I don't know how much longer he's got to go. He's 10 years old. What did dogs go? 12 years, 14 years? I don't know. But I know he's getting old, and it depresses me. So now I'm like, every time he's sleeping, I'm waking him up to make sure he's not dead. He must hate my guts, because literally every 30 minutes, I'm waking him up to make sure he's not dead, to make sure he's okay. I'm constantly asking him if he wants to go outside. And meanwhile, he doesn't want to get up off the floor. He doesn't want to go anywhere. But I gotta learn how to deal with this better, because I'm having a very difficult time now. I can't imagine what happens, God forbid, when he goes. It's going to absolutely break my heart. I don't know. Maybe somebody can give me advice on that. If anything, let me know. I know Ryan DiBiase's a big dog lover. Ryan, give me some advice, because every day I'm looking at this dog getting gray like me, and I'm getting sick to my stomach. I tell you guys, I go to Goodwill like 3 times a week. It's all I do. I mean, let's face it, between the brand and Goodwill, it's pretty much all I have in my life. And I'm always looking for that one big bargain, just that one diamond in the rough that I can really find. And I'm telling you, you go around my office, there are some really cool things. You see that tiger mask behind me at my stereo? I found that Goodwill. If you look next to it, you'll actually see beer cans. They're Animal House beer cans. I found those at Goodwill. Behind me again, a couple more things. That Mork and Mindy a lunchbox I found at Goodwill. Behind that is a black and white poster of Joe Namath. I found that at Goodwill. I found my you can't see, you can see it here barely, but my Las Vegas sign right here, I found it Goodwill. I found it behind me. You can't see it. Maybe I don't want to go too crazy, but if you look up, you see up there, you say, I never did this before. You guys never saw that before. That's an autographed picture of Danny DeVito. I found that at Goodwill. Next to it is a black and white Marx Brothers poster I found at Goodwill. So, like, I'm always looking for the one big treasure. And I think I've found, quite a bit of them. I'm looking around here to see. I found this. This was at Goodwill. This is, look at that. That's a replica of Yankee Stadium. I found that at Goodwill. So this is what I do, right? And, here's the thing. My family's always making fun of me. They never want to go with me. It's a whole to-do, right? But here's the thing. When I find a treasure, then they're all over it. Like, here's a perfect example. I went to Goodwill yesterday, not expecting to find anything. And I moved everything around. Okay, yeah, you could see it in the corner here. You see it in the corner here? I found Led Zeppelin coda. Okay, with tax, perfect condition. It cost me 54 cents. So every time I get the Goodwill buy, I got to rub it into to the family because they make fun of me when I go. So when I find something worthwhile, I got to rub it into everybody and I got to let them know. So, VJ, the Renaissance man, the 19th century man, he's a big vinyl guy, a big music guy. So I called them up. Hey, Vij, guess what? Yeah, I got Coda Led Zeppelin at Goodwill, 54 cents. No kidding around. If you went to a record store and tried to buy this album, it would probably be like between 12 and 20 bucks, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe 10 if you're lucky. I got it for 54 cents. So right away, VJ says, oh, yeah, I got all the Zeppelin albums except Coda and another one. So can I buy that off of you? Now, listen, I'm not a big Zeppelin guy. I mean, I'm just not. They're just the sound. Zeppelin's just not my cup of tea. So, like, I have no problem parting with the Led Zeppelin coda that I got for 54 cents. But let's face it. I went through the hard work of finding this album, for 54 cents. And not only that, all the ridicule I get for going to Goodwill, I'm going to benefit off of this because let's face it, a lot of times I'll buy stuff and then I'll go and I'll trade them in and get something I really like. So this is an album I could trade in. I'll get at least $5 for the album, trading it in. So, I'm like, all right, Vij, well, what's the offer? Put it on the table. And he's like, what are you talking about offer? I said, it's Zeppelin coda, bro. What are you giving? What am I getting for it? So he turns around and he goes, well, you paid 54 cents for it, so I'll give you 54 cents. And I'm like, bro, are you out of your freaking mind? For the guy that makes fun of me for going to Goodwill, I found this. I bought it. I got it for 54 cents. I can go anywhere else and trade it in for at least 5-10 times that. I said, you're going to give me 54 cents? So he goes, all right, well, okay, I'll give you $1. I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind? Now, listen, I got to ask you. I get the father-son thing. But, it's not like I'm 32-year-old dad and this is, 10-year-old VJ. Forget that. Wait, when my kids were that young, they got everything from me. Whatever they wanted, they got from me. This is 54-year-old dad and 25-year-old VJ who can afford more than 54 cents. So, like, I want to know, again, official Vince Russo at gmail.com. Am I wrong about this? Or should I hold him up for whatever I can get for this album? I think 54 cents is a joke. $1 is an absolute joke. Worst case scenario, he should trade me something I want for it. I don't think that's fair. But I also want to know, what you think if that makes me a horrible dad or not. Let's see what else I got on my list. Okay, I got this on my list. I watched Amy Schumer has a new stand-up from the Apollo on HBO. It came out over the weekend. I watched it last night. I was up late last night, and I watched Amy Schumer. Listen, I got to tell you this. I really like Amy Schumer. I think she's hot. She's not the textbook hot. she's. Let me put it to you this way: she's big boned, but she's very pretty. She comes off as hot. So I like Amy Schumer, but man, I got to tell you, when you watch over an hour of a stand-up, and whether it's a guy or whether it's a girl, I mean, not for anything, when penis and vagina is like 75% of the act, to me, it just gets old. And it's got nothing to do with my age. Whether I'm 54 or 24, the penis or the vagina joke is fine. But I mean, every 5 minutes, the penis, the dick, the vagina, whatever name she can come up with it. And again, the fact of the matter is, here's the gimmick. It's a hot girl talking about penis and vaginas. That's the sell. That's what gets over. But I got to be honest with you. I don't care if you're Rihanna up there telling these jokes. After a while, it gets old. And there are so many, back in the day, they used to call these comedians blue comedians, like Red Fox, was a blue comedian, Lenny Bruce, all those guys were blue comedians. Man, I'd love to see what these blue comedians, the Amy Schumers of the world, would do if they just had to go out and do a clean set, like do a Jerry Seinfeld set, because so much of it is the shock of the penis and the vagina. But, let's face it, man, 30 minutes in, the shock is gone. And it almost comes across as, a little bit immature and a little childish. That's just my opinion. And a lot of the girls are that way. Whitney Cummings, Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer, a lot of the girls are that way. I don't know. Listen, I used to love Dice, but, Andrew Dice Clay was one of a kind. And, he had the New York gimmick going and that accent and the whole 9 yards. I thought that was funny. When you got, like I said, three attractive girls doing this, it just gets old after a while. But, here's the thing. Amy Schumer did write Trainwreck. She wrote that. It was a hit. So, she probably has a nice career. She does the show on Comedy Central. She's got a nice career beyond, doing stand-up. But I don't know. I just wish comics wouldn't have to rely on that. And it goes back to wrestling. We did some of that stuff in the Attitude Era, but we didn't do it all the time. Sometimes we had comedy. Sometimes we had risque. Sometimes we had serious. It just wasn't, dick joke after dick joke after dick joke. After a while, I just think that gets old. I want to say that about that. I want to discuss a couple of other things. Steve Wilkos. I watched the Steve Wilkos show because I'm home during the day and episodes play back to back. I think it's on from 12 to 1 and from 1 to 2. As a matter of fact, it's on right now. I got to tell you guys, and you got to try this. I'm sure you get Wilkos in your area. The whole Steve Wilkos show is the lie detector test. Maury's got the paternity test. Wilkos got the lie detector test. That's the whole show. Watch the show, guys, because I am telling you, I have never, ever gotten it wrong when determining who was going to pass the lie detector test and who was going to pass. When Wilkos is giving out the results, all you have to do is look into the eyes of the person on the other end. When that person is guilty, you get one of these. What's happening is he knows he's guilty. He know he didn't pass the test. So you got the moment of Steve Wilkos goes, and Joe Schmo, you gave a lie detector test. And we asked the question, did you have 10 girlfriends while you were married? And the lie detector test said, well, that's going on. The poor guy, and I hate to say this, but it's usually an African-American guy. That's how it is on the Wilkos show. It's 80% African-American. But, the guy's like, what's going on in that moment is he's thinking of what he's going to say. He knows he's guilty. There's no doubt. And here's another thing. All these people that are found guilty, like, why did you take the test in the first place? And I'll tell you why they took the test. They took the test to get on television. But they took the test to get on TV, to get their 5 minutes worth of fame. Let's face it. How much did they get paid to come on the show? $500? Did they really need the $500 to be a liar in front of the entire world? So they go on the show knowing they're going to pass, knowing for the rest of their lives they're going to get ridiculed and look like as a liar. So it's during that time where you're getting where they're thinking or what they're going to say. And what do they all say? Take it again. Let me take it again. It's not the truth. Let me take it again. Let me take it again. Steve reminds them they already took it 3 or 4 times, or whatever the case may be. But it's a little fun game to play. It's a little fun exercise to see how often you could tell who's lying and who's not lying. I've never gotten it wrong. I'm willing to do it live on the air to prove to everybody that I've never gotten it wrong. One other news item, then I'm going to talk a little bit about wrestling. Lamar Odom is on the mend. I'm happy to hear that. The latest I'm hearing today is his kidneys are not doing so well. His kidneys have basically shut down. They're even talking about he may need a kidney transplant. Chloe is still at his bedside. Now, I've got to be honest with you, and I just got to say this, and it's not politically correct. I know Chloe's been at Lamar's bedside. As soon as this happened, she flew out to Vegas, and she's been at his bedside. They've now moved him back to L.A. And, okay, great. That's honorable, Chloe. That's great. You're a beautiful human being. But I can't forget the fact that once Chloe got a new boyfriend in James Harden that she was serious about, because she was never serious about French Montana. Who's going to be serious about a DJ? Give me a freaking break. Khloe Kardashian's not going to marry a DJ. Okay, that's what French Montana is. So she hooks a clause into another NBA player, James Harden. She's seen everywhere with James, and before Lamar OD'd, there were a couple of instances where Lamar went looking for her, and she painted the picture of him on Keeping Up with the Kardashians of him looking like a stalker. She made Lamar Odom look like an absolute stalker. She hears he's in the same club she's in, and she's running out the back door. Then she hears he came to the gym that she's at, and she's running down the street like this guy's going to rape and attack her, whatever the case may be. So you paint the picture now of this guy's a stalker, and he's stalking you, but the minute something tragically happens to him, oh, there you are by his bedside, sleeping next to his bed, yada, yada, yada. Did you ever think that if you would have given him the time of the day when he was looking for you, that maybe he would have never OD'd in the first place? But the fact that you made the guy look like a freaking stalker in front of the entire world was a little embarrassing, wouldn't you say? So I'm having just a real problem with this bedside vigil, whatever they call it, of Chloe, and saying Chloe now when she literally made this guy look like a big douchebag, to be honest with you. Let's talk about wrestling a little bit. I want to say this to you guys too, because I don't want anybody to take anything personally. I get so many requests from people in the brand and so forth, that want interviews with me. Listen to me. First and foremost, I'm going to give interviews to people in the brand because you support me. But like, there are a couple of things. I'm doing shows and talking about wrestling every single day. I'll give you the perfect example. Take yesterday, for instance. I wake up in the morning. I interview Ed Ferrara for 2 hours. I got to watch Raw for 3 hours, that night. Then I got to do my podcast on Wrestling Inc., reviewing Raw for another hour. I get up this morning. I've got to watch the Attitude Era for an hour and a half. I got to do my show with Jeff for an hour and a half. Now I'm doing, the Chicken X for another hour. I'm constantly wrestling. Therefore, it's difficult for me to do other talk shows, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want to overexpose myself. There's enough of me on VinceRussoBrand.com. I don't want to be all over the place. And number two, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to burn myself out. It's not easy for me to talk about wrestling, especially when it's this bad and there's really nothing to talk about. So I don't want to burn myself out. I don't want to reach for things to talk about. And I hope you can understand and respect that. When I have something to say, I'm going to say it, but I don't want to say anything for the sake of saying it. And let's face it, a lot of these interviews are the same questions over and over and over again that I've already answered a million times. So no disrespect to anybody, but I'm not going to do many interviews outside of the brand, just so you know. But with that, I have things to say, something to say. I made a comment on Twitter yesterday that, don't forget the people that help you get to the top, because the fall from the top is a nasty one and could also be a lonely one. And I'm going to be honest with you. I made that comment with Triple H in mind. I really and I honestly did, because in watching the Attitude Era and in all the memories coming back to me of the hours and hours and hours and hours I spent writing for Triple H when he first came into the company, when he first, was second banana to Shawn Michaels, all the way to in charge of DX, all the stuff I wrote and produced and the time I put in him, because you know what? I thought he was a great guy. I thought he was a great human being. I thought his heart was in the right place, and I wanted to help him as much as I possibly could. And I'll be honest with you, there's somebody at the WWE that's close to him that not recently. It's nothing recent. Probably over a year ago, went to Triple H and threw my name out there. And Triple H gave this friend of mine the old, never say never. And that's stuck in my craw. That has really, really, really stuck in my craw, because like I said, I know I did a lot for another human being. Okay. And to get that as a thank you, to get that as a response is really, 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 really disappointing. But like I said to you, listen, you can marry the boss's daughter all day long, but when you look at, the WWE and you look at the product, look at where it was a year ago compared to now. Year after year after year, down, 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 down. And that's why I made the comment. Don't forget those people that helped you get to the top, because if you forget them, it's going to be a lonely ride down. And again, to me, that's karma. And I talk about karma all the time, guys. And I'm going to tell you, when I'm talking about karma, I'm talking about God. I'm talking about God. God sees the way that we treat other human beings. And we're supposed to treat other human beings with dignity and respect. Don't rip them down, try to build them up. That's how we're supposed to treat other human beings. God created us all equally. No one person is better than the other person, regardless of what the bank account is. And I strongly, strongly, strongly believe that. And I try to live that. Listen, even on here, I have to critique people. I have to critique shows. I have to critique the jobs that they do. But that's not a personal attack. And that's not, tearing people down. That's me giving an honest, personal opinion of what people pay for. And I never try to make it personal. But like I said, with Triple H, I know what I did for the guy. And I don't think he's the same guy today, just based on that response, based on some of the things, that I hear from people in the inside. He's changed a little. And listen, let's face it, any human being in that spot would have probably changed a little. But I'm telling you, people, don't forget the people that helped you out in your life. Because if you don't pay it back, or pay it forward, whatever it is that they call it, it's going to come back to haunt you. And I'll tell you too, like, Stephanie McMahon was another one. She was, at the very tail end, Vince brought her on the writing team to kind of see what Ed and I did. And, she was the silent one in the back. But, we treated her so nice and so kind. We always made sure Stephanie was taken care of. And, now it's almost like, Hunter and Stephanie have all the power and all the money, and they really don't need anything else. And I just think that's wrong. That's my opinion. But with that, what I'm getting to is there's been a lot of speculation lately of Shane McMahon coming back to the WWE. Now, where this is coming from is I think they're doing a Shane McMahon DVD. I think that's where it's coming from. Because from everything I hear, it would be a long shot for Shane McMahon to come back. Listen, Shane went out on his own. It was a difficult situation. It was Shane versus Hunter and Stephanie. I can tell you firsthand, Stephanie was always daddy's little girl. I saw it firsthand. She always got special treatment. Shane McMahon had to fight and claw for everything that he got. And oftentimes I saw Shane McMahon very much disrespected by his dad, Vince. And I got to tell you, as a father, there's disciplining your kids, but there's disrespecting them in front of other people. And that you don't do. You're going to discipline your kids. You're going to do it in public. But it wasn't even a matter of discipline. It was a matter of decisions Shane made, ideas Shane would throw out. The two of them got treated differently. And listen, Shane knew this. So it was Shane versus Triple H and Stephanie. And it was something he wasn't going to win, quite honestly. So Shane left. He works with some cable company over in Japan, a cable provider. And from what I understand, he's done very, very, very well for himself. And that doesn't surprise me. Shane is a bright individual who works very, very, very hard. One of my best friends that I got a job at the WWE for many years ago worked directly with Shane. Shane was his boss. He was kind of like Shane's right-hand man. And, he raved about Shane, and I could never say a bad word about Shane McMahon. And let me tell you, Shane McMahon proved to the world that he didn't need Vince McMahon. He didn't need him in order to succeed. And listen, we see how many people run back to Vince because they need Vince and they always want, and Vince McMahon loves that. He thrives on people going back to daddy because they couldn't survive on their own and they needed him. He loved that. That gives him such a sense of power. And I don't know why Vince McMahon feels that he has to have a sense of power. If he can't see that he's a powerful man, I don't know what else is going to prove it. And again, you look on the other side of that, and that's insecurity somewhere in his childhood and his teenage years. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to get all into that. But I don't see Shane McMahon coming back. And I got to tell you, if he did, I think it would be a completely different WWE. I really, really do. I think Shane is a stand-up guy. I don't think there would be the political games there are now. I really don't. That's my opinion. I'd love to see Shane McMahon make a comeback, but I just don't think it's going to happen. One other thing I want to say, man, I think yesterday it is just becoming more clear and clear and clear and clear to me that Vince McMahon is still the captain of the ship. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Some of the angles being played out, some of the verbiage, some of the storylines, it's wrestling 101. It's not new. It's not fresh. It's not different. It's material being rehashed, and it's coming from Vince. And it wasn't more eminent until last night when Paige made the reference of Sally Jesse Raphael, who literally was a talk show host on television in the United States before Paige was even born. Paige is from England. Paige is only 22 years old. There is no way in the world Paige would know who Sally Jesse Raphael is, let alone anybody else under the age of 25. Sally Jesse Raphael has not been on television in years, but yet she was used as a reference yesterday. As soon as I saw that, that could only come from one person, and that's Vince McMahon. There's a 70-year-old man writing this show. There are 25, 30 writers writing to please a 70-year-old man. So the end result you're going to get is, quite frankly, a show that 70-year-old men might find appealing. Unfortunately, that's not the wrestling audience. And it's like, listen, guys, I'm 54. I feel like I'm 100. It is so difficult for me to relate to the younger people, but part of my full-time job is to keep the pulse on what's going on. That's why I listen to music of today. Whether I like rap or hate it, I still listen to it. I know Nicki Minaj songs, and I can't stand them. I try to keep on top with, the latest TV shows, who's hot in Hollywood. That's a full-time job for me. And I got to tell you, as far as kids are concerned, that's the hardest part of the job. I cannot tell you what 10, 12, 14-year-old kids are into today. And I'm 54. So that's your problem. That's the problem that you have. And I got to tell you, it all comes back to what I did back in the day. If somebody doesn't take their balls in their hand and basically lay those facts out to Vince and basically say, Vince, you're 70. You may not exactly have your pulse on today's society. Let us help you. Let's get some new blood in here. Open yourself up. Until somebody does that, there's not going to be a turnaround in the product. That's why we're seeing a decline that, quite frankly, I'm so sick and tired of talking of. I don't find joy in it. I'm tired of talking about it. That's why we started doing the Attitude Era shows. But that's it in a nutshell. So, listen, we covered a lot today. I had a lot to talk about. I'm sure Jeff and I will have much more to talk about on Friday, Lions, Tigers, Bears. Jeff said there's breaking blue pants news that I can't wait to talk about. And then anything but wrestling, we're going to have a lot to talk about there, too, on Saturday. Guys, there's a great interview with Gail Kim up. I hope you watch it. There's a great interview coming up on Thursday with Shannon Moore. I love Shannon Moore, man. Shannon's a great guy, a respectable guy. I really love Shannon. A great interview coming up with him. Remember, guys, as members of the brand, when something's released, it's up for 30 days because we release so much material that we got to keep it on a cycle. So you have 30 days to download it and keep it and listen to it whenever you want. But again, as always, Brand, thank you very much. I love you. Thank you for your support. Feel free to write to me, official Vince Russo at gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter. I don't use Facebook much. I'm usually on Twitter every day. But, again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll keep you posted on everything else that's going on. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining me.
Pro Wrestling's history class is now in session with Back to the Territories. Join host Jim Cornette and J.J. Dillon as they explore Mid-Atlantic wrestling.
Sitting there with his hands like this was Jim Crockett Sr.
3.5 hours of wrestling history told through rare memorabilia and exclusive footage.
Nothing topped Wahoo McDaniel and Johnny Valentine.
Featuring over an hour of lost Mid-Atlantic film footage from Jim Cornette's collection.
The kid from Minnesota, it was going to be something, Ric Flair.
Head back to Mid-Atlantic Wrestling at shootinterviews.com.